Hey everyone, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another Batman comic review. And this time I'll be doing Batman Volume 3, Death of the Family, by Scott Snyder and art by Greg Capullo. Now, Snyder and Capullo, since this is the first book I'm doing of them, is my favorite team for Batman. Snyder is probably my favorite, at least Batman writer. Overall, it'd be a tie between him and Alan Moore. But Capullo is definitely my favorite artist. I mean, Capullo was a guy that was destined to draw Batman. I love how his, people look without masks. I love how Batman and even the Robins look. Some of this kind of looks like Jock's artwork. Yeah, a lot of it looks like Jock's. But this is volume 3 of their New 52 run, which is probably my favorite run. I like it way more than Tom King's. I haven't read Grant Morrison's yet, but from what I've heard about it, I still really love this run. Tomasi's Batman and Robin's pretty close too. That's also New 52. Now, Death of the Family was the first major event of New 52. It covered almost all the Bat-centric titles. I mean, you had Batman and Robin, Volume 3, Death of the Family, Nightwing, I think Batgirl, Red Hood and the Outlaws, I think Teen Titans. Of course, it was all collected into this tie-in, Joker, Death of the Family, which this was the second comic I ever bought, and at this point in my comic reading life, I had no concept of what tie-ins were, or continuity, or even runs, really. I just thought this was a collected edition. So, I'm reading it, and it's just all these issues, more or less out of context, and they're not even in the right order that you're supposed to read them in. So I was lost as fuck reading this. I didn't make it that far. Nowadays, I'm not really into tie-ins. I don't buy them. This is the only one I have. I don't have Joker Endgame. This is the only other Death of the Family that I have. But I also have, because this was given to me, they released this. There's one of Court of Owls, Dark Knight Returns, and there's a Deathstroke one. It comes with the comic and the mask, because this is the issue that we finally got with Joker without his face. Because in Detective Comics #1, that's in Volume 1, obviously, Joker had his face cut off by Dollmaker. We didn't really know why. And then he was gone for a while, and there was no mention of him up until this. And I mean, this is being hailed as one of the greatest Joker stories ever told. Some people think that, in essence of the character, it is the greatest Joker story ever told. Now, granted, I'm still very partial to Killing Joke, but this is very close. This is a great story. This is a very creepy, unsettling story. I mean, this really goes to, Snyder, who's known for writing more horror-driven stories. Greg Capullo, who had a career in doing Spawn comics, and I like Spawn. And Capullo's even known for drawing Spawn and making Spawn look better than when Todd McFarlane did it. the whole story behind this, it starts out with this really creepy, story where Batman is in the GCPD and all the powers cut because the Joker has broken in to get his face out of evidence, and you get these really creepy shots of like they're all standing there like Joker's standing in this dark background, and Gordon just shooting in the darkness, and it's really creepy. And he steals his face, and he has this master plan to prove something to Batman. And why it's called Death of the Family is because his whole plan is to go after the Bat family. Because he wants to prove something to Batman. And essentially, his whole thing is, to the Joker, it's been you and I, you Batman, me Joker, we've been doing this for years. And it's like, I don't hate you. The reason why I do all the things I do is because I want to make you better at what you do. Because I love you. It doesn't really necessarily say if it's a romantic love or like a brotherly, friendly love. That's what I'm getting from it. But he also says we, as in like the rest of the rogues. And there is sort of a love reference to like Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. Because there was one panel where Joker wakes up from catatonia and it's like, Batman, darling. Which I think is just supposed to be like a creepy, sinister term of endearment. Here he calls him darling and love quite a bit. But anyway, so he goes after the Bat family, and that's where like all of these come in. Like this is the one where he goes after Damian. And that issue is really freaky too, because you have panels like, I think I passed it, where he's like hanging upside down in this kind of like a circus, I guess, in this giant bird cage. And Joker's hanging upside down, and he puts on his face upside down and like looks through it. Really fucked up. And the artwork by Patrick Gleason I also really like, and Peter J. Tomasi is a great writer. He really knows how to tell emotionally driven stories. Those stories have a lot of emotional depth. I was impressed with his Batman and Robin run. So after he abducts the whole Bat family, which actually, first he goes after Alfred, which I think we're supposed to believe because, Joker tells Batman, I know who you are. I know who all of you are. And, you're all phonies. He says the Robins, Batgirl, they're phonies, but you're Batman. And then we get this flashback to like an earlier caper with Batman chasing Joker, where Joker seemingly fell to his death. And Batman has his bat boat back to the cave, and he finds a Joker card in the cave, and he doesn't tell anybody. And so we're supposed to believe that's how he knows, he knows where the cave is, he knows who everyone is, and that's how he knows how to go after them. And I think that's why we're supposed to believe why he goes after Alfred. But by the end of the story, we think he got Alfred just because he knows he's Bruce Wayne's butler. And Bruce Wayne being the high-class, high-society bachelor that he is, with all his charities and benefits, even at the manor, he must be a hell of a butler. And Joker even gets like some of the other rogues to put on some sort of court scene, like Two-Face is the judge, and then Riddler and Penguin. And they have these poor patients or orderlies from Arkham dressed up as the rest of the Justice League. And the main event is, we get to this room where actually Batman, Joker says he's going to shock everyone, but Batman can take a bigger shock to relieve everyone, and it knocks him out. And he puts those other rogues in like a cell because you really only need Joker for this. And I think this was the cover for Batman. Doesn't say the number, but the comic is called The Punchline, and this is one of the more famous covers where he does like that rainy, bloody dance with Batman's suit. So the main event of Death of the Family is this sort of chainsaw massacre dinner where everyone, the whole Bat family is tied to these chairs with bags over their heads. Batman's still tied up. And also they have like bird skeletons and bones hanging everywhere. Another reason why it reminds me of Chainsaw Massacre. And that's where he goes on to tell them that, like, we see Joker, Alfred's been Jokerized. And this is where it all comes to fruition. Because he has Alfred bring out these dishes with the silver covers over them in front of everyone. And, everyone has, like, these bloody bandages. And when they all get their plates, they open it. All their faces have been cut off. And I'm sure there's multiple ways that you can look at this. Like, because one, if they're still wearing their masks on their cut off faces, so that could be a sign that he doesn't know who they are. It could be a sign how, they're all really faceless and don't matter, but you are Batman. And ultimately, I think we all know Batman took the Robins in because he felt sorry for them. They're all orphans. Dick, his parents were killed in front of him. Jason was a street orphan. Tim's dad died after he became Robin. So, automatic sympathy, and he took them on. But the more the Bat family expands, it's sort of like saying the lighter the load there is on Batman. And that's what Joker's trying to get across, is he says, with them, you don't get to be your best when they're around. They do stuff for you. When it was just you and I, you were at the top of your game. That's why they gotta go. It's just gotta be you and I. And also earlier, there was parts where Bruce tells them all about the Joker card found in the cave, and he's like, that's why you all gotta leave. And they were like, you should have told us this long ago when this first happened. And they take it as a complete sign of distrust. And you get these great... Earlier, there's this issue with Harley where he has to enlist her help. I know a lot of people don't really like the look of the Joker without a face. And, having that mask. I actually like it. I mean, it's really just for this event. And how, he doesn't have the purple suit. He has, like, the mechanic coveralls. But I like it. And actually, as the story goes on, the more rotten the face gets. You know, like this big reveal when it's all their faces. Wherever the fuck it is. You know, there's even like flies buzzing around it. You can tell it's rotting. And also, yeah, that is a two-headed lion cub. Because in the beginning, Batman's narration tells us how years ago there was a big storm, then something else happened, and now a lion's given birth to a two-headed cub. And there was a big storm. So that's why he thinks it's the sign of the Joker coming. And also, the Robins can't do anything during this dinner because there's like graphite under their chairs. Or like flint, and they're covered in gasoline, so if they get up, they'll be set on fire. But, you know, Batman's able to help them, and then they're all Jokerized. And he lets them beat the hell out of each other so they can, like, beat the toxin out of them or something. And you find out Joker didn't really cut off their faces. Because I think he wanted Batman to kill them, find out he didn't cut off their faces, and then that will sort of drive him mad. At least that's what I think. That's what I get from it. And then there's this fight between Joker and Batman on this cliff, or aside this cliff in the Batcave. That's where Batman says, you know, I know who you are. Your name, your history, your everything. And he whispers something in a Joker's ear. We don't get to hear what it is, but Joker freaks out. And he ends up falling off the cliff. Presumably to his death. And I mean, of course, his face comes off as he's falling. And then later on, you know, Batman tries to reach out to the Bat family, but they're all ignoring him. Because they don't trust him anymore because of the whole thing with the card and not telling him and them ending up in that position. So they all kind of blow him off. And they don't really get back together after this. And it's sort of to say, like I think some people were mad that it said death of the family, and then this is what we got. It doesn't necessarily mean death of the family like he killed them all. Death of the family as in the network of help that he has. The company, his company has sort of fallen apart. He no longer has his Robins or his Batgirl or anybody. He's thrown this psychological wrench in there, and it just, so even though he didn't have to kill them and Batman didn't end up killing them, they still fell apart. And I really like that. I'm not a big fan of the extended Bat family, so I kind of like how it did that. I like how someone attempted to even do that, you know, break up the Bat family. Then at the end, you know, Bruce tells Alfred this story about when he first found the Joker card. He went to Arkham, where Joker was, to visit him in his cell. And we see Joker, he has the Heath Ledger scars, but he's standing in the corner, facing the corner of his cell, and Batman, or Bruce Wayne, goes to talk to him about the card. And that's when he says, he was like, you know, he recognized my voice. He knew what I was talking about the card, but he wouldn't look at me. He knew who I was, but he wouldn't look. He didn't want to know who I was. He didn't want to see me as Bruce Wayne. Because if he knew who I was, it would kill his fun. And he doesn't want to do that. It's too much for him. And I thought that added to their dynamic as well. About how Joker's obsessed with Batman, but he doesn't care who the man under the mask is. And, you know, I really like this story, too, where he goes after Robin. Because in this run, you know, the whole arc is these two not getting along, him still wanting to be the assassin, the bringer of justice. And by this point, this is when they're finally starting to trust each other and get along. But there are great parts, like where he sends Batman on a scavenger hunt of nice surprises to show that he knows about the Wayne family and that he's trying to impress them. When really he's doing it just to get him out of Gotham so he can do Batman the way he wants. But then, the stuff with Joker is also really good. The tie-in, yeah, not the biggest fan of because I don't really enjoy tie-ins. But this was a really great story. For the first major event of New 52, or at least for Batman, could have been New 52 overall, but I know for Batman, it was excellent. And I have the feeling this was supposed to be the first event because of the face cut off in a Detective Comics. But, I think Snyder had this Court of Owls thing in his pocket for a while, and he wanted to do that. And I think they were like, Scott, you want to do the Joker face story? He's like, well, I sort of want to do this Court of Owls thing. And they're like, oh, but we have it all set up for this. And he's like, hey, I'm the Black Mirror guy. Like, okay, go ahead and do your owl story. We'll do this after. But I really like Death of the Family. And I really like this cover, too. I don't really like the cover of the hardcover, where it's like white. The slip cover's like Joker's face, and then like the skinless face is underneath on the cover. I like this a lot better. But that is Joker, Death of the Family by Scott Snyder, Volume 3 of New 52. If you're a Joker fan, definitely check it out. But anyway, thank you for watching.